You're about to listen to the Dr. Dahlia Show. Sassy, stimulating medical talk radio. Any medical advice Dr. Dahlia Wax gives on her show should not be substituted for an actual visit to your medical provider. And now, here's Dr. Dahlia.
Welcome back to the Dr. Dahlia Show, 1-877-DOC-DALI, 1-877-DOC-DALI. So for the last 30 days, 40 days, 50 days, 57 days, 58 days, 59 days, we've been hearing from Democrats that the president is going to have to end the conflict in Iran because of the War Powers Act. For him to act unilaterally, they allege without Congress's approval, he would then have to stop and get their approval at day 60. There has been some back and forth as to when those 60 days start. Apparently, according to CNN, lawmakers can't agree on when that 60-day mark is. Why? Well, because we've been in a ceasefire. So under the War Powers Act of 1973, the president has 60 days to conduct military action in response to an imminent threat or an attack on the United States if Congress has not voted to authorize a war. Without explicit congressional authorization, the law says that once that deadline is reached, the president shall, quote, terminate any use of the United States Armed Forces. So many lawmakers think that today is the 60-day mark, and so things have to stop now. Why? They're basing it on President Donald Trump notifying Congress of the beginning of hostilities on March 2nd. Now, others say, well, wait a second, because technically we're in a ceasefire. There is no military sort of, shall we say, artillery being used. And so the ceasefire limits then and shrinks that 60 days and allows him some more time. Many Democrats, however, said that this was illegal from the beginning because there was no imminent threat. We know that there was an imminent threat. Iran has been threatening us since day one. I mean, for decades, this regime has been, death to America, what they did with Israel. This is, and attacking Americans in that attack as they funded Hamas in 2023. So the threat is there. I don't think that's going to be very difficult to prove. But people are wondering what happens next. So the White House told CNN that the war in Iran is over. There's a ceasefire between the countries. So they don't have to seek congressional approval. Senior administration officials said that for the purposes of the law, the hostilities that began on Saturday, February 28th have terminated. The official noted that both the U.S. and Iran had agreed to a 2-week ceasefire on April 7th. There has been no exchange of fire between the U.S. Armed Forces and Iran since Tuesday. So Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth also said the 60-day clock pauses or stops in a ceasefire. So, some people looking at it as any sort of action, whether it's the blockade, whatever. Would Congress approve it? Well, here's the thing. There's still a lot of Republicans that are on the fence. And so a concern I have is, even though Trump had suggested that, because of our amazing military and the power of our military, this would be over quick. Well, not exactly. Yeah, we did a lot. We did amazing. President Trump did more than any other president as it relates to, Iran's rule and the Revolutionary Guard's rule. He even was able to stop them from publicly executing some of the protesters. But unfortunately, that regime isn't going anywhere. Even though the Ayatollah is gone, the son of the Ayatollah is severely injured. Somebody's running it. It's very confusing over there. And they haven't necessarily given up. This blockade that's happening with the Strait of Hormuz, for that to be effective, it has to keep going until they come back to the table. So a concern I have is that Congress says, sorry, it's May 1st. You're done. And then if that's the case, does Iran go, okay, good. All we had to do was buy time, which is what I think they were doing. I think Iran was, and I believe even one of the officials said that was kind of their plan, because they know American sentiment is going to change. And so if they could just ride that out, the U.S. is going to have to make a move. Now, I do agree that we have a war powers resolution. We do not want the president declaring war. It does involve Congress. We don't want somebody unilaterally, but this was a little different. This isn't we're going to war to take over your country, to annihilate your people. This was different. This was you keep threatening to destroy us, to destroy Israel. You keep attacking Americans. We are going to impede your ability to do that. Now, for some people, they would call that a war. For others, it is, we're taking action to prevent us as defense. There's going to be a lot of back and forth. We'll see what happens later today. Lawmakers point to a 30-day extension provision in the 1973 law as they insist that the president can continue to conduct the war without congressional approval. Under the law, Trump can extend the 60-day clock for another 30 days if he argues that continued military action is needed to keep service members safe while withdrawing from the war. So that was kind of put in place going, okay, well, if the 60 days is up, you just can't completely, drop all your guard. You need to be able to then remove them, right? So that gives them another 30 days. I think if Trump has those extra 30 days, he will use it not to withdraw, but to still push Iran even more. So Senate Majority Leader John Thune, who controls the measures that can receive the vote, according to CNN, said that his chamber will not vote on authorizing the war anytime soon. We're listening carefully to what our members of our conference are saying. And at this point, I don't see that. As of right now, I'm not hearing that. No. So some senators are wanting to introduce a plan. Others are, I don't think we have to necessarily do this now. I think Senator Lisa Murkowski wants to introduce a measure whether to formally authorize the war. She does not see a quote, and if she does not see a credible plan from the White House in the next week. And again, the reason why this is a little difficult is because there's so many moles, there's so many people that are, if Trump has a plan, we're going to make sure we squeeze Iran, and then when Ron reads this plan, they're going to be like, okay, all we have to do is hold out till this date. So it's a little tricky, but it'll be interesting to see what unfolds in the next few days. 1-877-DOC-BELLY.
This is an urgent announcement for anyone that's $10,000 or more in debt. Before you make another minimum payment, you need to know there are special programs that can completely free you of your debt. Total Financial Freedom can help you become debt-free in months instead of years. Resolve your credit card debt, signature loans, department store cards, internet loans, and timeshares. Call Total Financial Freedom now at 800-878-6020 for a free consultation. For 16 years, Total Financial Freedom has helped thousands get out of debt. You can feel confident when calling because Total Financial Freedom is A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau. Battling for years and years stuck in the endless cycle of minimum payments could take decades. You have the right to get your debt resolved and substantially reduce your monthly payments. Call Total Financial Freedom now at 800-878-6020. That's 800-878-6020. 800-878-6020.
Let's face it, guys, we're living in times where the truth is becoming more suppressed and censorship is increasing at an alarming rate, especially on social media platforms. It's Clyde, and I want to tell you about a safe and secure digital playground we put together just for you. It's Aftermath.media. You get access to thousands of Ground Zero archives and podcasts, along with our private social media groups with your basic membership starting at only $7 a month. Each subscription includes tech support, access to the RSS feeds, along with our own chat room and Telegram channel. In addition, the premium membership includes research study groups, webinars, a document and movie library, a live video stream of Ground Zero, a monthly Zoom chat with me, and other bonus content. Be sure to check out our yearly specials as well. Sign up today while you're thinking about it. Sign up at Aftermath.media. Again, that's Aftermath.media.
Welcome back to the Dr. Dahlia Show, 1-877-DOC-DALI, 1-877-DOC-DALI. So we've been complaining about AI, and I've been complaining about tech, how it's making us more dumb, right? We're not calculating things on our own. We're not remembering our family members' phone numbers. We're just relying on tech, and we're getting mentally lazy. Well, are there studies? What's the scientific evidence? Well, we got a study. This is interesting. This new study, researchers claim, provides the first causal evidence that if you lean on AI to assist with reasoning, intensive cognitive labor, like mental tasks like writing or coding or brainstorming new ideas, if you rely on AI to do that and you don't do it yourself, it can rapidly impair your intellectual ability and willingness to persist despite difficulty. So the study was conducted by a multidisciplinary cohort of scientists from across the US and UK. The study has not yet been peer reviewed, but the initial information is being released by Futurism, the initial data. And the study author said, we find that AI assistance improves immediate performance, but it comes at a heavy cognitive cost. They say after just 10 minutes of AI assisted problem solving, people who lost access to the AI performed worse and gave up more frequently than those who never used it. So this builds upon a growing body of research suggesting that extensive AI could be distorting or dampening our thinking and independence. And they call this the boiling frog conundrum, where unwittingly bit by bit erosion of our cognitive muscles leads to formidable challenges in the long term. I guess that's, where you put frog in water and then you slowly start to heat it up until it boils and burns them, and the frog might not move initially. So they say if sustained AI use erodes the motivation and persistence that drive long-term learning, these effects will accumulate over years, and by the time they are visible, they will be difficult to reverse. They're not wrong about that. They say this is analogous to the boiling frog effect, where each incremental act feels costless until the cumulative effect becomes overwhelming to address. So what did they do with the study? Well, they took 350 Americans. They asked them to complete a brief series of fraction equations. Fractions. Okay, I can tell you right now, even I would give up. Okay, I hated fractions. But they gave them fractions. A little more than half of participants were randomly granted access to a chat bot, a specialized bot built on OpenAI's chat or GTP5, and provided with the specific answers for each question on the brief exam for help. Everyone else was funneled into an AI-free control group. So at first, the results revealed that the chatbot proved expedient in helping AI-aided participants just breathe through the test. But then halfway through the short exam, access to the AI was suddenly cut off. What did the participants do? Well, they had trouble working through the reasoning questions. And then their ability started to decline. They also didn't want to keep working with the problem when the going got tough. So then they did a follow-up experiment. The researchers recruited another larger group of 670 participants. They were again split into two roughly equal halves, asked to complete a brief mathematical reasoning test, with one group getting a chatbot assistant, only to once again be suddenly abandoned by their AI companion, leaving them to cognitively fend for themselves. And the results were pretty much the same. And not only did performance drop, but perseverance dropped also. So they did a final experiment in which 200 more participants were asked to complete a brief series of reading comprehension questions, showing that such results aren't simply limited to just math. So they want to, mix it up a little bit. And they say people's persistence dropped. Once AI is taken away, it's not that people are just given the wrong answers. They're also not even willing to try without AI. Was there any good news to this? They said how participants used AI appeared to make a difference for individual outcomes. They say those who self-reported that they essentially prompted the chatbot to cough up the answers unsurprisingly had a worse time once the AI rug was pulled. But those who said they asked the chatbot for hints or clarification as opposed to having it just do the work for them, they seemed to be a little better off when they didn't have the AI. So this is not the biggest, oh, wow, this is mind-boggling. This is like, duh, of course. This is obviously something that we have surmised as it pertains to this. But I'd like to know the ages of these people and Haven't they had to do math before? I mean, or are we looking at a population where since COVID, they've been just online? And so I remember sitting there in class, I would be doing times tables or would have to read, I don't know, Macbeth or Beowulf or something. And I remember going, okay, how does this help me in real life? And the teacher would just tell me to shut up, and quit, just go back to the task. And I just was like, this isn't helping me in real life. And then when I got older, I was like, okay, I see. They're working my different muscles. History is working one muscle. Math is working another muscle. Writing things out, my handwriting classes, another muscle. Typing, another one. I really wish I learned more of a second language when I was younger. I taught myself Spanish when I was already in my 20s. If I could have done that when I was younger and I had more of that sponge, we really lose the ability to do certain things with our brain. We could learn things. We could always go to school and learn things. But what we have as kids, oh my gosh. And to think that these kids who are at their most absorbing are just on tablets, are texting, are using AI, you need to think this through. I mean, your brain needs to really churn. And I am so grateful that I didn't grow up now, because I could have very easily gone, well, let me just use AI. Well, this is easy. And God, you know what? These people, they cheat. These kids cheat. I told you there's this software, there's this AI software where you just have to give it your syllabus from your class, your college coursework, let them look at everything the teacher gave you, and then they'll take your tests for you. They'll do your assignments for you, and you just go about your merry way. That's not why you go to college. You're supposed to learn. You're supposed to be working your brain. You're supposed to be putting stuff in memory. So what do? Well, some parents are already objecting to what's going on, and they're already trying to reel the schools back to let my child fill out a worksheet. Give my child a paper and pencil. One thing I noticed was my handwriting has gotten worse, not because I write too much, but because I'm not writing at all. All I do all day long is type and input. So when I have to hold a pencil or fill something out, my handwriting's atrocious. You're losing your skills. You gotta keep those up. That's why I say, for those of you that are worried about dementia, go back to old school. Take a class, write things down, write a poem, read a book, take tests. But try to go back and rebuild that brain and rebuild that cognition. But I was in a CCW class, and somebody was talking about how, oh my gosh, ChatGPT is amazing. Well, it is amazing, but what are we going to do? Who's going to hire you if they could just ask ChatGPT what's going on? But what's so frustrating about what I read with this is it isn't so much that people couldn't do the task, is that they gave up. We cannot have a generation of give-uppers. If I gave up in medical school, then I couldn't go on to help save lives. If a teacher gave up, then they wouldn't finish school. I mean, if people are giving up, no one's going to get done. No one's persevering. And the fact that they gave up because they couldn't have AI. Okay, it's one thing if you're struggling, you're like, I don't know it, and I'm getting frustrated, and I think, I've been studying for hours, maybe I need a break. But you're sitting down to do your first task of the day, and you're already giving up. I see this with customer service. I'll ask them a question, because there's an issue, let's say with a flight or credit card or whatever. Then, if they aren't able to do it with their computer, they'll hang up on me, pretend like it was an accident so that they don't have to deal with it. How many times have you gotten hung up? And I'm nice. I'm being really nice. And I'm like, well, yeah. I know you told me to do this, but I've already done that online. What's the next step? I've graduated with the online help and the chatbot. What's the next step? And then all of a sudden they hang up on me. These people are giving up. And we're also seeing that with suicide as it pertains to struggling with life. I keep going. Keep going. We got to do something about this giving up attitude. And we got to do something about AI making people cognitively lazy. 1-877 Dolly, don't go away. Dr. Dahlia here. Are you tired, burned out, gaining weight, succumbing to the daily pressures of life? Well, how's your dopamine doing? How you feel right now, how you'll feel an hour from now, and how you'll feel next week is completely reliant on your dopamine. Our daily motivation and willingness to push through challenges depends on the intricate chemical process dopamine provides. Christian Kalikas and I created Deploying Dopamine, a book that tells you what dopamine is, when it dysfunctions, and how to successfully deploy it when needed. Find Deploying Dopamine on Amazon today. Check it out.
Lisa Wolf here to tell you about our newest website for old-time radio lovers. It's 100radioshows.com. At this site, there are 5 old-time radio shows waiting for you to download free as our gift to you. And be sure to browse the additional 700 old-time radio shows available to you for 70% off by using the promo code RADIO at checkout. This is a limited-time offer, so log on to 100radioshows.com. That's 100radioshows.com.
Welcome back to the Dr. Dahlia Show. 1-877-DOC-DOLLY, 1-877-DOC-DALI. So the food pyramid has been flipped with a reminder that whole ingredient foods and fresh foods and foods that are not full of sugar and complex sugar and, can be good for you, including beef. I'm a big fan of beef. Where's the beef? And I'm really, really glad it's coming back. And I'm very, very excited for our next guest. Chef Marcia Smart is sharing beef dishes inspired by Italy that delivers not only comfort, but nutrition. We all know Chef Smart. I believe she's been on the show before. Influencer, master chef, and we are so, so excited that she's here. Thank you, Chef. Thank you for coming back. We appreciate you.
Thank you for having me. Excited about it.
Awesome. So, the National Cattlemen's Beef Association, I'm grateful for them because they raise a lot of awareness. They talk to us about the nutritional values. Talk to us about, what's been happening now and why this is so important.
Well, these are such great nutritional recipes that you can make on a weeknight, and they don't take too much time. They don't have an endless amount of ingredients. They're actually whole food recipes full of great flavor and great nutrients.
Because, I love that you're here doing this and raising this awareness because we tell people to cook more at home, not to eat out. And then they go, well, what do I do? I mean, I want the Italian meal. I want I think it's time, with the way things are changing globally to, have us, take that on and educate ourselves on, we can make restaurant quality meals at home.
Yes, the problem for me is my husband says sometimes my dinners are better than going out, which is a problem when I want to take a break. But these recipes are going to make you look like a star in your own home because they're so delicious, they're simple, they're elevated, and they use ingredients that likely you might already have in your pantry or your fridge or your freezer.
Love it. So, Italian food, one of my favorite foods. You are actually doing the TV circuit, showing people some of your dishes. Talk to us about some of the beef dishes you are sharing with viewers and listeners.
Okay, we have 2 of my favorites today. We have a beef tagliata, which is a simple pan-seared steak. You just salt and pepper it on both sides, sear it for about 7 minutes each side, then let it rest. Slice it and serve it over arugula that's dressed with an aged balsamic, olive oil, and shaved Parmesan. So those delicious, fresh Italian ingredients. And it comes together so fast. And it's actually so beautiful because you have the greens, you have the sliced steak, the Parmesan. It's such a great, entertaining recipe. And we also have a quick beef ragu that we're serving. And we have it over spaghetti squash today. You could serve it over pasta if you'd like. But this is another recipe that comes together in 40 minutes flat. It is so delicious. It smells so good in here right now. And it's one of those recipes that I like to double sometimes. It freezes really well, so you can thank yourself later when you have a dinner that's ready to go.
Oh, I love it. And it's interesting because I think over the years, people would try to label themselves. Am I a good cook or a bad cook? All right. And so I never thought I was a good cook until I did some of your recipes, searing the steak sear. I mean, it doesn't take that long, and it's really hard for somebody like me to mess up. And then when you add it, you got the nutrients that you have in beef and the vitamins and the protein, as well as the vegetables. It's a pretty balanced meal.
Yes, absolutely. And it is really simple. My goal is just to get more people cooking. And this is a great recipe because you really don't do much with the steaks when they're in the pan. You just let them do their thing and create their magic. And then when you're done, you have this high protein meal that's full of essential nutrients like zinc and iron and protein and B vitamins.
It's so true, and I'm really kind of glad that we're raising awareness about beef. Somehow the stereotype was, well, you got to cut red meat. You got to cut red meat. And then we saw our obesity and our diabetes epidemic worsen as people were trying to do processed foods and more carbs and more, and pasta is great. And some carbs are great, but people are being so fearful of going to, what's been on this earth and what's been fueling us and nutrition and nurturing us for centuries. And so I'm glad we're bringing it back. What other sort of tips do you have for my listeners?
Well, I think honestly, excuse me, anytime you're cooking at home, it's going to be better for you. You are able to control the ingredients and what goes in your meals. So meal plan, look at what you have, use up ingredients in your pantry, in your fridge, in your freezer. And I think really just thinking about that balance of having a lean protein, having vegetables, having healthy fats, like looking at these two recipes today, we have carrots and celery and thyme and spaghetti squash and arugula, and it's so beautiful. And I think whenever you're looking at a plate and it's colorful and it has meats and it smells amazing and it just is going to satisfy you and make you feel full for longer.
Exactly. And we really have to look at our protein and our vitamin intake. There's nutrients in beef that really are, especially as we're, working to be more active and people are trying all these weight loss drugs and they're afraid they're losing their muscle. Talk to us about the nutrients in beef that are so important.
Definitely. I mean, you do need protein to fuel that muscle maintenance, and beef has 25 grams of high quality protein in every 3-ounce serving. So it's going to leave you feeling full and energized and just keep you going when you have a busy schedule.
Absolutely. Where can my listeners go for more information?
Head to beefitswhatsfordinner.com. You can find the recipes there, and I hope everyone will make these at home.
Awesome. Thank you, Chef Marcia Smart. We love you. Thank you, National Cattlemen's Beef Association and Beef Checkoff, for helping us with this segment.
Thank you for having me.
1-877-DOC-DOLLY, 1-877-DOC-DALI. It's interesting. I'm looking at how people are now, like you saw the Mike Tyson ad with the Super Bowl, single ingredient foods and foods that are more natural. We're really starting to go back to, it's interesting. I've actually, I've been in the grocery store since the, RFK, junior recommendations, and I'm noticing fewer people are in the frozen food section. And I'm seeing more people in produce. I'm seeing, and maybe it's just, and it's the same time of day. I go to the store the same time of day, and on the same days. And I'm not saying this is a scientifically, valid study, but I am seeing fewer people in the more processed food aisles and more looking at the natural ingredients. And when people say, but what about cholesterol and beef and all that? You don't eat the fat, don't eat the grizzle, don't eat the chicken skin. There, you can very easily have a protein, a high protein diet without necessarily increasing your cholesterol. I think if you're adding a lot of butter, if you're adding a lot of lard, fat, but to gently sear a steak, which, and its juices, with just a very little bit of, either olive oil or, there's things, stay away from margarine. I'm not a margarine fan. I'd rather you use, if you are cooking, real butter than margarine. But, there are things you can do that will not necessarily change your cholesterol. In fact, we have found that increased sugar increases your cholesterol more than just eating the natural food. And so it just blows my mind that it's taken this long for us to kind of go back and rethink this, because obesity has never been worse. And we've had all this education, and now we're like, well, maybe we've been educating wrong. So where's the beef? I think it's coming back. 1-877 Doc Dolly.
Carl Amari here to tell you about our newest website for old-time radio lovers. It's 100radioshows.com. At this site, there are 5 old-time radio shows waiting for you to download free as our gift to you, and be sure to browse the additional 700 old-time radio shows available to you for 70% off by using the promo code RADIO at checkout. This is a limited-time offer, so log on to 100radioshows.com. That's 100radioshows.com.
Have you ever thought you'd like to buy and sell houses but didn't know how or where to get the money? My name is Ron LeGrand, and over the past 40 years, I've bought over 3,000 houses without using my money or credit, and taught thousands to do the same. Today, even in a virtual environment, we buy nice houses in nice neighborhoods using no banks, realtors, contractors, or other costly entanglements, and build huge cash flow and wealth without the hassle of tenants, all without credit and little or no money. You don't need a license or experience, and I'll show you exactly how it's done. Text FREE to 99799, and I'll send you my free training. I promise you I'll change the way you think about real estate and open the door to a new lifestyle that doesn't involve risk or rehabs and can quickly replace your current income. Text FREE to 99799, and let me show you how to take your life back and build cash flow and wealth from your home. That's FREE to 99799. Again, FREE to 99799.
As an organ donor, your story doesn't have to end. The good in you can live on. In fact, you could save up to 8 lives and restore sight and health for many more. Sign up right now online as an organ, eye, and tissue donor. You'll be happy you did. And just maybe, someone else will be happy too. Go to organdonor.gov. It saves lives. U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Health Resources and Services Administration.
All right. We are back on the Dr. Dahlia Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877 Dr. Dali, 1-877 DOCDALI. Big thanks to Talk Media Network for making the show happen. Big thanks to Daniel, our producer. Big thanks to y'all for tuning in. We really do appreciate it. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter or X at Dr. Dahlia, Facebook, The Dr. Dahlia Show, and on YouTube. Click like and subscribe. So as you know, I suffer from migraines. It was horrible. I mean, I could not even describe that pain. I think kidney stone pain was less than some of the migraine pain I'm having. And there's a lot of different types of headaches. Sometimes we, call it a migraine, but there's other types of headaches. We got cluster headaches, we got cervicogenic headaches, and there's not a lot of treatment options available, especially for the very common cluster headache. Now, we do have a lot of medications for migraine, but it's not a one-size-fits-all. Approximately 43 million Americans are living. Now, there is a fantastic injection. It's the first and only FDA-approved dihydroergotamine, DHE auto-injector for the acute treatment of migraine with or without aura, and the acute treatment of cluster headaches in adults who have it. And this is soon going to be available for patient use. I'm really excited about it. Now, to speak on this is Dr. Alan Rappaport, migraine specialist, who we are really, really grateful to have. He's a distinguished neurologist and professor of neurology at the David Gelfand School of Medicine at UCLA, where I trained, and he teaches residents that he's been doing since 2006, also teaches at Cedars-Sinai Hospital, where I was born. So we're connected. Dr. Rappaport, thank you so much for joining us.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm glad I'm speaking to a Californian.
Amen to that. Absolutely. So migraines and cluster headaches. Can you talk about the difference and then why they're so difficult to treat?
Sure. Thank you. So migraine is a headache that occurs more in women than men, about 3 times more in women than men. It's probably inherited most of the time, and it occurs about 1 to 3 times a month on average. It can be much more frequent or less frequent. And during a migraine attack, a pain starts and builds over a period of a few hours, sometimes faster, and it's often on one side of the head, in the front of the head. It's a throbbing pain associated with nausea and vomiting, sometimes also light sensitivity, which really bothers people a lot, sound sensitivity, and a lot of disability. And people can't really work during a migraine. They can't really think well. They can't speak well. They'd rather lie in bed with the blinds closed and do nothing unless they get good treatment. And as you mentioned, there are a lot of treatments, but there's some problems with the treatments that we have. Most people like to take pills because it's easy, and doctors like to give pills because they don't have to describe too much. And what happens when you take a good pill for migraine? Sometimes it knocks it out and you're fine. A lot of people find that it doesn't work that well, or it works, but the headache recurs in several hours or the next day. And when that happens, I realize that the pill isn't getting down the GI tract to the area where it gets absorbed into the small bowel, and the headache will recur or not even get better. So for migraine, I would think about Perkia auto-injector for someone that doesn't stay well when they take their pills or medicines, however they take them, or doesn't get all better, because DHE, which is what's in it, dihydroergotamine, just like you said, is an ergot, which is a vasoconstrictor, and it's been around 70 years. And we know it well. It works well. I used to hospitalize patients and give them IV DHE all the time. And the trouble is you have to give it by injection for it to work really well. It does come as a nasal spray, but I prefer an injection. And when you have a bad migraine, you can't get to the ER. You will if somebody will drive you. You can't get to my office. So to have an injection of DHE at home is something I've waited for over 10 years. It's available today. It was released just a few weeks ago. And the only thing that's really special about how to get it, you can't just go to the pharmacy and get it. You have to have your doctor or nurse prescribe it from one of 2 specialty pharmacies, either Walgreens Specialty Pharmacy or Sterling Specialty Pharmacy. So that's the way you have to get it. But it's really something that I'm waiting for. I've been waiting for.
Yeah. And like you said, also, we see a lot of migraines, affect both men and women, but predominantly women, and cluster headaches. We see them also predominantly affect men. So this also can help with cluster headaches as well.
You're absolutely right. And as you know, we have very few really good medicines for cluster. There is a triptan that you can take subcutaneously for cluster, and when it works, that's great. But I want to tell people that cluster is a little different from migraine. When it comes, it's in and around one eye. That eye turns red. It starts tearing. You may have a stuffed or running nostril on that side. And the pain is excruciatingly severe. Migraine's bad enough, as you know, but cluster is probably worse. patients can't sit still with it or lie still. They rock back and forth. They run. They bang their head on a wall because that feels better than the pain itself. They feel as though something's pushing their eyeball out of the socket. It's just a horrible, horrible pain. The good news is it only lasts for 45 minutes to 2 or 3 hours, whereas migraine can go a day or two if you don't treat it well. The bad news is it recurs 3 or 4 times a day, and even in the middle of the night. And it happens most days for about 6 to 8 weeks, and then it goes away. And it comes back a month later. Not a month, sorry, a year later. So cluster is really tough, and it's different. And as you say, it's more men, and it's pretty rare. It's 1 million people in the country have cluster. But if you have it, you will do anything to avoid it or to treat it, and you'll go any place for it.
Absolutely. And, of course, make sure you don't self-diagnose these types of headaches. Everybody make sure you have a medical provider because, unfortunately, there's lots of other things that could mimic these headaches. But, once you are officially diagnosed with migraine or cluster, this Brachia auto-injector sounds exciting. I know we're running short on time because you're very busy, and we're so grateful to have you. What other information would you like to share with our listeners?
Great question. So there are a couple of types of people that shouldn't take Brachia auto-injector. If you're on a CYP3A4 inhibitor, like a protease inhibitor, if you got AIDS and you're taking one of those, or if you take a macrolide antibiotic for some reason, you should not take Brachia auto-injector. Don't use it if you have bad ischemic heart disease or controlled hypertension. If you're taking a triptan or an ergot for migraine, if it's working, keep doing it. If it's not working, don't take it on a day you're going to take this because the two of them don't work well together. If you're pregnant or breastfeeding, don't take it. And if your blood pressure is very high and the doctor has trouble controlling it, don't take it. There are a few side effects I warn people about, sometimes nausea, sometimes it'll increase your blood pressure, and some people may get heart or cerebral ischemia. It's very easy to take and very convenient. You get your anterior thigh, the front of your thigh should be available. You can use 3 in a day, although I rarely have to do that. And you can use 6 in a month.
Dr. Rappaport, I am so glad you came on. One more time, where can my listeners go for more information?
They can go to Brachia.com. That's BREKIYA.com. Or you can go to the company website. The company is Amneal. That's AMNEAL.com. And you can get more information, and it's available today.
Love it. Guys, Dr. Rappaport, can't wait to have you back. God bless, and thank you for the segment.
Oh, you're very welcome. You did a good job. Thank you.
Awesome. All right, guys, don't go away. We'll be right back. 1-877-DOC-DOLLY.
Looking for an easy read that can actually help secure someone's future? Pick up a copy of Mark Falter's book, Common Sense Income Strategies. For the past 30-plus years, Mark has helped thousands of hardworking Americans secure their financial future by using strategies that continue to create wealth, whether the market is up or down. Strategies that will make perfect sense once you take the time to read this powerful book. Common Sense Income Strategies brings to you what Mark has been teaching in person and talking about on the radio for decades. It's not rocket science, it's a pretty easy read. You've worked too long and too hard not to see the fruits of your labor. Common Sense Income Strategies is available now on Amazon or by calling 866-764-2635. That's 866-764-2635. Common Sense Income Strategies by financial fitness show host Mark Falter. Secure your financial future today.